pausing the song to say one thing. Or let's see the name of this video. Look down here. Look here, look here. See that? See the name of that video? Avengers Assemble. I have 3 special guests with me tonight. 3 special guests that you all see on a platform together for a while. The name of this video is Avengers Assemble. I sharing it on my WhatsApp groups. You share it on yours. Wake up people. Call them home. Tell them this one. They don't want to miss it live. We're going to listen to Sparrow sing a little bit while we get them here. Yeah? Let me go. Francisco, the one, the only. The man, the greatest Calypsonian that ever lived. I had to interrupt you, and I'm sorry it come across as disrespect, and I don't mean that. The numbers at 600 and something that need to climb because I'm bringing the full Avengers for it tonight. Avengers Assemble. But before we bring on the Avengers, I want you to hear something. PNM arithmetic. PNM people, oh God, listen. Hear me now. Not PNM people, sorry. I love PNM people. I love UNC people. I love all the Trinity people. PNM trolls. PNM sycophants who just want to come on the trains to attack people. Like a woman come to attack the fellow who make a jokey video with him chopping up the balize and she say, look how illiterate he is. I have to say, ma'am, the irony of you using the word illiterate is because illiterate means you cannot read. The word you're looking for is ignorant, you cannot understand. And you and PNM trolls shouldn't be telling people about the intelligence level. You all are the last ones to speak. For example, and I want to tell you this, Dr. Thompson, no link. Now, hear me. Let me give you a preamble. The last event that the Candlelight Movement had at Baraka Grounds was March 12th. The spike that was recorded, 85 cases, that day was the 14th of April. 10 days before the 14th of April was Easter Sunday when 50,000 people was zesting on Pigeon Point Beach. Partner called me today. He said, Philip, when we reach by the gate to Pigeon Point, they check we and they make sure we only had 25% occupancy in the car, so we know we're safe. If they're doing that by the gate, we're safe. He said 15 minutes after me, my wife and child put on my chair, I get up, I went and dipped my 2 toes in the pool and in the sea and I come back. I couldn't find my people. He said it was like Carnival Tuesday down by Murray Street Square. He said if you see people, I couldn't find my chairs, I couldn't find my wife, I couldn't find my child. He said when I finally find them, I scramble them up and I get out because I forget it was a COVID. But Dr. Thompson said, and I want to be clear about this, 10 days before the 14th of April when we recorded the first spike, 85 cases, 10 days was Easter Sunday. Before that, 11 days, they interviewed Rohan Sinana, Glorious Saturday, when he said, we moved 50,000 people this week. We moved 50,000 people between Trinidad and Tobago, a little more than 50,000. He said, we moved 50,000 people between Trinidad and Tobago this week. So that's 11. Glorious Saturday is 11. People coming off the boat, people coming off the plane. Good Friday, that's 12. People coming off the boat, people coming off the plane. Holy Thursday, that's 13 days. People coming off the boat, people coming off the plane. The Wednesday, the last working day, when everybody who was going to Tobago, they work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And Wednesday, they rush the boat and the plane. You move 50,000 people in 4 days. You move more than 15,000 people a day. More than 13,000 people a day. And to move 13,000 people between Piarco Airport and between the port, the ferry terminal, you know, so they put 5,000 in Piarco and 5,000 in the ferry terminal, you know what that is like. That is people on top of people in line, chuck and jar, move your box, mister, I was there first, hey, go park there, move that car. That is what we're talking about. We're talking about mass confusion, the movement of humans. But the PNM and the PNM trolls, there's the narrative the PNM trolls want you to believe. The last event The last candlelight vigil event was at Baraka Grounds on the 12th of March, because our next meeting was the 19th. We had a Rima plan and we had San Fernando plan. We had all them weeks to come plan. But we get stopped the Friday. So our last public event was on the 12th of March in Baraka Grounds. You know what's the 12th of March? The 12th of March was 19 days before Easter Sunday and 33 days before the spike. So we far from the spike. But the PNM trolls and the PNM narrative, this is Dr. Thompson. I know I'm like professional ethics, be damned. Dr. Anthony Thompson, a member of the COVID-19 response team in the Office of the County Medical Officer of Health, has said there is no correlation between the Easter vacation and the staggering death and infection rate within the past 3 weeks. Now, there are 35 cases yesterday in Tobago. And Keith Rowley said the week before, the 50,000 plus went to Tobago. He said, Tobago is COVID-free. The THA do that. It's safe. The place to be is Tobago. Everybody should come. The South Beach of Trinidad. Remember that? Tobago had 0 cases. 0. Rowley said it's easy to find on the big white wingback chair. Cock off like a lord. There are no cases in Tobago. THA do that. You win. So Dr. Anthony Thompson, I just ask him, where the cases in Tobago come from if you had 0 before the 50,000 people touched down to Zest? They didn't come to Tobago to go in the church, the temple, and the mosque. They come to Tobago to strip down, put on the little teeny-weeny, itsy-bitsy bikini, and the speedos, and they tell them one another, rub me down, man, I want to smell like Hawaiian tropic. And then the beach, loving up one another. And I ain't knocking that, except we had a pandemic. Dr. Thompson says there is no correlation. Correlation is the word he uses. Because I want Dr. Thompson, who is so sure. You see, I'm going to tell you how science works, and a doctor is a scientist. Science works in an investigation where you remove all of the things that are improbable and all of the things that are impossible, and all that you are left with after, from which you can make a deduction or a conclusion, is what is possible. Now, I read this article. I'm going to read it to you. Because what the media published here for Dr. Thompson is gross negligence on the part of the media. Because Dr. Thompson tells you what he knows for sure didn't happen. But Dr. Thompson didn't tell you how he knew that for sure in the face of what he referred to as the staggering death and infection rates within the past few weeks. There were reports that an estimated 50,000 traveled to Tobago. Now, Dr. Thompson, these are not reports. This was a statement put out in the public and repeated ad nauseum by the last honest Indian in Trinidad, by his own words, Rohan Sananan, the Minister of Works and Transport. The Minister of Works and Transport said he moved 50,000 plus people to Tobago. They went when they wanted and came back when they wanted. Since that period, there has been a drastic spike in the number of reported COVID-19 infections. This has resulted in a return to several measures to reduce the level of movement among the population and minimize the rate of infection. Addressing the THA Division of Health, Wellness and Family Development virtual media briefing on Friday, Thompson was asked if there is a link between the upsurge in COVID-19 cases and the Easter weekend. He said any activity in which there are many people interacting and gathering would generate more opportunities for persons to transmit the virus. That is true. That is inevitable, he said, adding, many Tobagonians travel to Trinidad and vice versa. That is also true. Thompson said the movement between the two islands has tapered off with the restrictions on the ANC bridge. I'm assuming that is true. But a lot of the spread over the past couple of weeks would have had nothing to do with Easter per se. We have contact with the Trinidad population. That is a given. We are a unitary state, and any event where lots of people are out and about would give the opportunity for transmission. That is true. Acting General Manager, Primary Care, Tobago Regional Health Authority, Dr. Roxanne Mitchell, gave an update on the island's vaccination process. That's a big jump. She said, and she just talked about vaccination, and the story ends. So I don't want to go into that in AstraZeneca and found onto the trade and healthcare workers, the public and private sector, all that nonsense. That's not important to this story. What's important to this story is the words per se. Because I am assuming Dr. Thompson is not a doctor like Dr. Pepper is a doctor. I'm assuming Dr. Thompson is a medical doctor, not a doctor like Keith Rowley is a doctor. Because this doctor, it makes no sense. Now, I want to tell Dr. Thompson in front, I trust that the media left out a large part of his story. Because for Dr. Thompson to say, but a lot of the spread over the past couple of weeks would have had nothing to do with Easter per se, means that Dr. Thompson knows where it came from. And I would like Dr. Thompson to contact me at 682-2110. Dr. Anthony Thompson, a member of the COVID-19 response team in the Office of the County Medical Officer of Health. I want to invite him to contact me at 682-2110 on my Facebook. You can message me. And I'll set the record straight for you. People give me facts all the time. To disabuse the nation, that's a nice word, go and look up that one. To disabuse the nation of the nonsense that passes. I'm going to stop right there and get one of the Avengers on the phone. Will you tell me if only hearing him good? I know they love him bad. Nonsense. The girl, what is it? The girl them sugar boy? Stefan Reese.
Hey, what going on, man? Evening. I'm watching you on the live here now, so I didn't realize. But it's a little behind.
Well, you live now. So, and I'm sure you was hearing what I was just reading, and I would like your opinion on that.
All right, let me put it in. All right, I heard from the discussion you were having where some people decided to point a finger at the candlelight movement as being responsible for the spike, and then you went on to, what's the doctor's name?
Anthony Thompson.
Anthony Thompson said the Easter weekend had nothing to do.
Nothing.
Right. All right. So this is what I want you to do. On both issues, right, with the candlelight movement having anything to do with the spike or the accusation of it, where we know it's absolutely ridiculous because the timeline
was with 33 days away.
Provide for that.
33 days away from the spike. So the only way that the candlelight movement could have had anything to do with it, especially as this man says, the 50,000 people who moved to Tobago, 10,000 people a day, 5,000 in Piaco and 5,000 in the ferry terminal, cheek and jowl with each other. If he is sure that they had nothing to do with it, then that means the COVID-19 virus is cheeky and mischievous, and it likes to play games. It was playing hide and seek for 33 days. It went against all of the science that says 14 days for transmission or it dies. And if it doesn't transmit, it dies. But in this case, for this time, the COVID-19 was playing a trick on all of us.
All right, well, this is what I want you to do, right? And I really want you to take this seriously because it might sound like a joke, right? So for everybody that's on the live right now, you see the people that make that accusation and the people that saying the Easter weekend have nothing to do with the spike, I want you to consider this. Consider that we live in a country, right, where a significant amount of people actually thought that when the opposition leader said during the election campaign that she was going to create a security dome to secure Trinidad and Tobago borders, they thought it was a physical structure. I want you to understand what I just said there. They thought it was a physical dome. They laughed at it, and they did not understand the concept of a security dome. That alone tells the story of the level
The
of
intelligence level of the people that we're dealing with.
Right. So, I want you to understand that, and I don't know if people will really, it will sink in with people that is where we are in Trinidad and
No,
Tobago
Stefan,
right now.
I really wasn't calling to talk about December. I just need to rubbish that any connection, anytime that comes up, because they give you the date. You see, they came out with a graph, and this is where they get catch. They get spoiled by being able to do graphs. Somebody buy them a copy of Photoshop or something and share it out, and everybody doing graphs now. Trotman, Hines, and Tina Grunland, Nunes, and they get catch. Here they get catch. They
I have a discussion on that, but go ahead.
They identify the date of the spike, boss man. They called Friday. They called April 14th, 85 cases. They say the spike begin here, and they point an arrow in the graph.
Right.
But they thought that we had an event in Arima, and they thought that we had an event in South.
Well, okay, in the words of the Prime Minister, and I don't really quote him ever, right? That is part of the lies and propaganda that people in this country spread. He said that in an interview, I don't know if you caught it, on TTT.
Brother man, the lies and propaganda. You know,
right, so
you know who he was referring to?
But that referring to Rohanson and
It's Rohanson and that's spreading lies and propaganda.
The last honest Indian.
Honest Indian.
I am saying to the people that are accusing the candlelight movement of being connected to any spike, that is part of the lies and propaganda that people spread in this country. And I leave it at that.
You can stick up in there. Bro,
stick up in.
Listen, I just felt tonight, you know, people feeling so hopeless and depressed. I wanted them to see that there is a bunch of people that they could rely on to stand firm and stand tall and bring the truth every time. And I wanted the public to see that we all on the same path. If we're not in the same movement yet right now in any direction, we're still on the same path and we're still standing for the same things. And I wanted to say assemble the Avengers, brother. So anything that you feel, anything that's moving you right now, because I know certain issues occupy your mind space, and when you prosecuted an issue, I don't like to get in your way, because you like a pit bull. When you bite down, you don't like go till it bleed. So bro, what is on your mind tonight? What do you think of everything that's going on? Our 9 to 5 curfew that is going to end COVID. What was on your mind?
Well, I'll tell you what's on my mind. A lot of things on my mind, Philip. You know what's on my mind in terms of the 9 to 5 curfew and this last set of restrictions here? The media review. Remember we were supposed to have a media review?
The budget?
Where the Minister of Finance was supposed to come and give this review, the media review. Now remember, the Minister of Finance said at our conversations with the Prime Minister that the government of Trinidad and Tobago spent $18 billion during the last 12 to 14 months on COVID-19, right? Now in the middle of a spike, we have a significant spike in deaths as well, which concerns me, and I'll get to that. And with all of these things that are going on, everybody seemed to forget that it had a media review, which would have given the Minister of Finance the opportunity, or the opposition the opportunity, to call him to account for the $18 billion that he said he spent, and as to where the money went. But we don't have a media review because we're in the middle of a SOE. Businesses shut down, people on the breadline, they don't know where the next dollar coming from. And that has totally gone under the radar.
But you see,
so the next time we hear from the Minister of Finance will be actually in the 2021-22 budget.
You see, raising issues there that chafing my skin. because they just talk about a $5 billion relief stimulus package, and then they talk about 20,000 people getting $1,000. That's $20 million. Where did
Yeah.
the rest of the money go in? They talk about some entertainers, Iowa, Marshall, Nyla Blackman, and getting $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Where the rest? If 20,000 people getting $1,000 from me, what's happening? So that's 20 million.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening to the rest of the $4,980,000,000?
Well, you see, that's the thing. You see, this is the. You see, we ask the relative. We ask questions on merit. We don't ask bush questions. It's serious questions that we ask. The questions that we ask are questions that whether I do it in a live or you do it in a live or Ian Allen say it on Crime Watch or in Transit on his program Breaking Barriers, we ask questions that are important to the public interest. The problem is we have a government that throws figures at us. That's all they bring, a number to the table. They do it with their expenditure without having to give account as to where the money went. They do it with the COVID figures without accounting as to where these cases coming from, what are the underlying health issues of these people that being tested coming up positive for COVID-19. The most important question is how many of these people were vaccinated, and I really want to touch on that because we have 100,000 Sinopharm vaccines that are coming to Trinidad and Tobago, and they're making this big hullabaloo about it.
Stick up in. You see that we write Joe Biden to ask him for some AstraZeneca vaccines, and he said we're getting some because he gained away 60 million. And then somebody leaked a video of him talking to Americans, telling them, well, the reason we had to give away all these AstraZeneca vaccines is that they're not approved for the use of Americans.
That's right. That's right. I saw that clip today, and you know what the first thing come on my mind? There was a report about 2 weeks ago where the Indian media, Beyond, is a social media site, it is on YouTube and thing, and they have a lady that is doing the reporting. She does a good job at it, and they did a report considering the situation that India was in, and they accused America of hoarding vaccines. And she said that they were hoarding some 500 million vaccines, right? And not sharing with the rest of the world. Which brought two thoughts to my mind. Either they're hoarding it, or there is a certain level of resistance against the vaccines in America, and they're not vaccinating as much people as they thought they would have vaccinated, so therefore they have a surplus. Because they're not being able to, they're not vaccinated, they're not using up the stock fast enough there, as they would have initially thought. So, now regardless of whatever you think in terms of that, now you have the President of the United States, Joe Biden, coming and saying publicly that we have 60 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine, and we are going to give all away. All. Like Espine, all, even America. Because it has not been approved for use in the United States of America. Now, we have reports from Canada and other parts of the world where they have put a hold on this particular vaccine. Why? Because over a period of time, and common sense and logic will tell you this, because we know that these vaccines didn't go through the testing period that they should have gone through, like they have in the past, that it was rushed.
Rushed the market. Rushed the market, yeah.
Rushed the market. Because we're in a pandemic and there's emergency situation, and all of them, or majority of them, got emergency use they got approval, emergency use approval. Now, the AstraZeneca vaccine, according to the people in Canada, started off in terms of blood clotting as a side effect in 1 in every 1 million people. After further vaccinations, it went to 1 in every 125,000 people. The last report is that blood clotting has taken place in 1 in every 60,000 people. Now,
Stefan, before you go on,
yeah.
I want to tell you this. You and I could talk for the night, and they have nothing I enjoy more than talking with you. But I
Yeah.
want to tell you, I can't let us get too deep in this tonight because I know you have your information. But I have
Yeah, well,
no. I tell you this. Now,
yeah.
this is a preview show, and I want
Mhm.
to ask you now because I want to get a
Yeah.
confirmation from Inshan and Ian in their brief contribution when they come on tonight
Yeah.
for us to do a 2-hour panel show. We don't have to be in the same place, but all of us will be on the same screen and we can have a conversation with each other. And I want to try and get that together because you have done more work with the issue, and I want to let you wrap it up in your closing comments. But and
Mhm.
I don't mean to shorten you because I know you have plenty information to share. But we have a brief
Yeah.
amount of time tonight for this. But I know that the work that you have done linking, you see, and I want to say this to you so you can include it in your closing comments.
Yeah.
One of two things causing this spike:
Mhm.
a mad rush of COVID positive Venezuelans came into Trinidad, intermingled with our population, and caused this spike,
Mhm.
or the vaccines are causing the spike, and the speed with which this spike is running through the country. I
Mhm.
believe there has to be a link, and I want you to tell me what you
Mhm.
think as
Okay.
briefly as you could, knowing that you will have
Mhm.
an opportunity when we all get together to
No problem.
expand upon it.
I'll say it as brief as possible. If it's the first reason that you gave, that we had a significant number of Venezuelans or illegal immigrants coming into the country, where are all the sick Venezuelans? Where are they? I'm not seeing them.
You see, ask a question and make a next question pop up in my mind.
Right.
Last year
So,
they said we had 1,500 and something beds, and now
and, yeah,
we only have 542 beds.
542.
So
Yeah.
where the rest of the 1,000 beds? And I see Inshan ask it today, how many immigrants are on beds?
Correct.
How we reach tens? How we reach 542 beds? None of these things are adding up, Stefan. We reach a state of
Yeah.
emergency, which is a suspension of your and my rights and the
Mm-hmm.
citizens of this country. And this state of emergency is being paraded as being as a direct result of a runaway spread of COVID-19. But we were on top of COVID-19. COVID was behind us.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did this happen?
Well. Okay. Let me just say it quick and I'll wrap up because I know you want to get to Ian and Inshan, right? And I just want to tell the audience tonight, the 1.6 K that you have on the stream right now. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I am talking about people being pro-safe. All I'm asking people to
I
do
have my
is think.
vaccinations. I wanted to see. I have all my vaccinations. My children have all their vaccinations. I don't play with that. What you
Right.
talking about is a vaccination, a vaccine that was rushed to market without testing. Continue.
Correct. Now, I just want people. I eliminated the Venezuelan issue long time. Okay? Because up to now, the CMO cannot say how many people in this last spike, how many of these cases are the Brazilian variant, how many of these deaths occurred from the Brazilian variant. As a matter of fact, he was asked that last week by a reporter. I sent the question to the reporter that asked the question, by the way. It was one of the questions that I sent, and he could not answer. He said, well, we're doing certain checks, and we will get back to you on that. And that was the response. So he does not know. We're 1 week down the road, and we have not gotten a follow-up. And if nobody asks, we won't get it. It will just be swept under the carpet like the media review. So all I ask people to do is simply this. You started off saying that a doctor said that the Easter weekend in Tobago had nothing to do with the strike. I want to tell that doctor he correct. I don't think it had anything to do with the 50,000 people that might have gone to Tobago. Because if people remember well, two men were supposed to take the vaccine first, coming off the back of the Easter weekend. Terence Singh, Keith Christopher Rowley. One say he get COVID and he couldn't take the vaccine. All right? And your vaccination program started right there. That same Easter weekend, coming off the back of the Easter weekend, from the Tuesday or the Easter Monday, right? Now, we learned from the Prime Minister getting COVID that if you have COVID, you can't take the vaccine. And I am asking the question, Are they testing people to see if they are COVID negative or positive before administering the vaccine?
Stefan, that question that you asked there is the reason why they're not allowing the media to attend via Zoom. Because if you allow the media to attend via Zoom or VMix call like we are now, you could take all the journalists. They're screening and allowing 4 journalists in at a time. And if the journalists ask salient questions like you asking, they get banned. Like Ubashi, when Ubashi put Terence Bialsing on the spot about the illegal immigrant, how else did it? And he defer to Minister of National Security, and then we get a new Minister of National Security, and that Minister of National Security in his maiden press conference that you and I watched, we talked after. In that press conference, remember when I tell you that's the last press conference you will ever see Mr. Arise in? Remember I tell you that?
Yeah.
Boss,
I remember that.
Boss, there was a state of emergency was announced. The most important minister after the prime minister for state of emergency, the minister of national security. Where was he?
Yes. Yeah. They bring back the former minister to talk.
Bro, we gotta stick a pin. Let me tell you something. I want to talk to Satish. He'll get on to you, and I think we're aim for a day like Friday. I want to get the whole team together, and we really have to trash this out.
Not a problem. Let's close. I can close real quick by saying this. I just want to finish the statement.
You close up.
Right. So all I'm asking people to do, all I am asking people to do, they say be responsible. You have to be responsible both ways. One, you have to be responsible to wear your mask and adhere to all the other regulations, whether it's social distancing or sanitizing. We're not trying to discourage people from doing that. Do that. Protect yourself that way. But there's another type of protection that you need to take upon yourself, and that is to be safe. You have to remember that a vaccine is an injection with something going into your system. And now they are telling you that it's okay to take a shot of AstraZeneca and then take a different vaccine as the second shot. Well, keep in mind that they also told you in the earlies when the blood clotting started that it have no connection to the AstraZeneca vaccine.
But they also,
and then they continued it.
But they also said you had to take the 2, You had to take the 2.
Yeah, but now they're telling you in Canada that those who got the full shot of AstraZeneca is okay, could get like a Pfizer or Moderna shot as the second shot. Now, we don't know if that could work, but they're telling you that. And I'm just saying that, remember, a few months ago, when it first came up with the blood clotting, they told you, no, it have no connection to AstraZeneca. None at all. And they continued giving people AstraZeneca. And it's only obvious that the more people that you administer the AstraZeneca to, is the more cases of blood clotting that will pop up. Just like the more people you test for COVID-19, is the more positives you're going to get. So remember now, months down the road, now they come and they say, due to rising numbers, they have to put a hold on it and they stop giving the AstraZeneca in certain places. So let's keep that in mind and think. Think for yourself. You have a lot of information out there, but think. Be logical in the way that you approach this, whether it is dealing with the COVID-19 in terms of the restrictions and the protocols that are in place, as well as going and get yourself vaccinated. That is all I ask people to do. I just ask people to think and be responsible both ways.
But I want to say to you as we wrap up here that get your information armed to the teeth with information when we get together with the team, because I want us to get down into this. If nobody else going to do it, we have a responsibility too. Thanks a lot for joining us tonight, Stefan.
Yeah, man, no problem. Thanks for the call.
Right, Stefan Rees, and to all the ladies and the old ladies who I thought the Golden Girls, all used to come for me and be on my video, but I realized only come by me when Stefan on there. Stefan is the girl, them sugar. Alright, no problem. But that was Mr. Stefan Rees. The next person, I pull him off a treadmill. He was home trying to keep himself slim and fit because he have a big show starting tomorrow. Inshan Ishmael, good evening, my brother.
Hey, good evening.
You're live, and this is the call I was telling you about. Your live.
Okay,
and
so I need to. Okay, just hold on. Let me just pull my hearing because I need to look at. Okay, here we go. Go ahead.
You know, you have a future in comedy. I want to tell you that. Listen, people, I want to tell you, I sit down in meetings with this man. Serious thing. And without missing a beat, he's taking down a road where you just had to laugh. John, it's real nice hearing from you. I know you took some time off with the family, Ramadan and stuff. Happy
My
belated Eid and everything. Yeah.
my wife, in fact, fortunately, my wife makes some serious demands on me, and what happened is that I have officially retired from business. So therefore, what happened is that my time now is sanctioned by my wife. And what happens is that she has it written down how much time I must spend with her. What happens is that 23 hours and 50 minutes with her, and need to run and 10 minutes for anything else.
Well, so if you to get 5 of those 10 minutes, I want to tell you something. So you are the boss of your house as long as your wife says so.
Well, I think every married man would agree with that. We have no choice. We have no choice.
And John, I'm watching some of your posts these days, and I know briefly, I want to touch on anything at all, brother. I see you asking some questions. The big question that you asked today is how many immigrants are on those 1,500 and something beds we're supposed to have. We were supposed to have 1,551 beds in the parallel health sector, and then all of a sudden it was down to 542, and I don't understand where the other 1,009 beds gone. But you asked a good question today, and have you received any answers?
And you see, people must understand that is not discriminatory in any way, because I've always said we cannot see immigrants coming into this country and discriminate, because at the end of the day, we could be in their position.
No, but I know you gave hampers and fed people from
Of course,
right.
So
I know you fed illegal immigrants. This is not about that. This is about getting information so we clear.
No, but you see, we need to distinguish with it. You see, for those people who came into the country legally and who respected our laws, then by all means benefit from the healthcare system. My problem is when people could disrespect our laws, breach every law that we have, and then come here and benefit legally from a system which is supposed to be providing to those who are legally here. I have a serious problem with that.
That's not benefit, that's displaced. People have to wait for somebody to dare to get a bed.
Exactly. No, that is factual. That is factual. So at the end of the day, my concern, because I mean, really and truly, it's ridiculous the amount of people passing out, and I don't want to use the terminology passing out like flies because it's an unfair comparison. But my problem is this: we have lockdown, and still the numbers are increasing. I have said it before, and I'll say it again: that these masks that we wear, they do little to nothing. And not only that, it was showed recently, there was a video that I posted which showed you that your droplets could actually reach as far as 33 feet.
Wow.
Now imagine 1,000 people in a supermarket, one man sneeze, that going up in the air, and everybody passing on that aisle, breathing in that. And to me, we are not taking this thing as seriously as we should, because I mean, I have friends who are right now on their last leg at the hospital, and we are seeing so many people now. You know, there was
my father's brother. I'm telling you something now, and this is the first time I'm admitting this live. My father's brother is a medical doctor. He was the founder of what is the most successful private hospital in Trinidad, Sinclair Medical Hospital.
Yes.
He fell sick a couple days ago now. He had bad kidneys and he on dialysis and stuff, and he fell sick with COVID the other day. And my family was panicking, trying to get an ambulance. This is a man who is renowned in the medical profession, who should have had some. He get parked up in a room in Mount Hope. They were calling Philip what strings we could pull to get him some kind of attention. Now, again, I'm saying to you, because you just mentioned that you are family members, and I too as well. And I know how close to home this thing come in, and the points that you raise in, why are they not being raised and answered in these press conferences?
Well, we remember we are not there, and remember the media has to genuflect to their advertisers. The government is an advertiser, so therefore, at the end of the day, they have to do what is necessary, such as what takes place with media all over the world. And the reality of it is that, thank God, social media now allows you to reach more people than the Gazette, the daily newspaper. One post could cause you to get 100, 200,000, a million views. Yep. So the reality of it is that, thank God, that social media has given to a voice to people who did not have a voice, or people who had a voice before, and it has now amplified that voice. For me, and I want to commend you for something. You have been pushing this point, and you have been pushing it again and again and again. Our borders, our borders, our borders, our borders is like SpongeBob body right now. You know, we have been saying time and time again, and the worst thing is that we expect police to patrol our ports. Now, we recently acquired 2 OPVs. Now, the interesting thing is that for you to actually jump and get that started now, you need to get 10 men to operate that, right? So you have to know, while these fellas are relaxing, you know, something urgent take place out at sea, you have to now mobilize the 10 men. One of them going, the captain going somewhere to pick up the girl. The other one, you can't find him. The other one is that he going somewhere to buy food. And by the time everybody gathered, 2 hours pass and whatever take place on the sea done. So for me, I think nobody is saying the 13 vessels that we had before, the smaller ones, tell us where is the problem. Trinidad is the only country that vessels on the sea does it pothole and damage.
John, I want to tell you something, yeah? And I just want to say this to you as you raise the issue with the borders. What Trinidadians don't realize, and when the ministers tell us things that are untrue, if a Trinidadian jump in a boat to try to head to Venezuela tonight without permission, they will get arrested at sea. Every time our fishermen stray into their waters, they get locked up. Why
if you go to dip your toe, in Venezuelan water, they shoot it off.
So why we can't secure ours? They had a time the other day, the Venezuelan Coast Guard reached by a oil barge out at sea and tell them it's straight into Venezuelan water. They monitoring that. How come we, the 13 boats you talk about there, I know we have 33 Coast Guard vessels, but you talk about 13 that working. Oh God, man, 13 of them could be lined up in a line from the south to the west coast and create a wall in the sea. I mean, we know what we're facing. You trying to tell me that the government don't know that too?
No, but you have to understand the relationship. Now, let us not pretend that we do not know about the relationship between the Prime Minister and Maduro. The reality of it is 2 of them did the samba together. They were dancing, doing the cha-cha-cha. What happens is that their relation is a kush-kush relationship. So therefore, they are comfortable. And the reality of it is that I wonder if it's that the Prime Minister does not want to rock the boat by dealing with Venezuela in a rough manner, whereby here, fellas, we can't take no more, no more Venezuelans again. We need to put a stop now. And I wonder if it's the relationship that the Prime Minister has with Maduro have with our Prime Minister, if that is the reason why nothing is being done. Because let us face facts, Trinidad is the only country where thousands and thousands of people could just enter your border, boom, go in an area, build a house, say here, we catch you with tail, we have no water, we have no food, and then the next day you get help without a problem. No documentation, no nothing, and you're comfortable. No other country could you do that. So the reality of it is that every day I am dealing with mothers begging for food, with people who have nothing, literally nothing. And what we are doing is that we are actually creating a situation where inflation is going to be a serious problem in our country, whereby, I mean, economics, Philip. The reality of it is this. If demand outstrips supply when it comes to our food, what is going to happen? Naturally, prices are going to raise because the limited stock that our manufacturers have and our importers have with foreign exchange, it automatically means that you and I will have to pay more at the counter because of people who are coming in here illegally, using up what little we have and taking advantage of our resources.
I remember I went to a Massey store to buy peanut butter for my boy because he's eat a lot of peanut butter for protein at his age.
Right.
And there was no brand of peanut butter at all. And what the fella in charge of the lane told me, say, boss, We've had people in here shopping for certain items and they buy out those items, and peanut butter was one of the things. And so it reminded me of a swarm of locusts. Now what you say there, and people have to understand that if they have 5 oranges to share and you have 5 Trinidadians to share those oranges with, and then you bring 3 of something else and 4 of something else, you now have more people to try and share up these oranges with, and Trinidadians not going to get. And that's the truth. So when people speak about you and they tell you you need to be more understanding and open your heart, if Living Water is sharing food and they're taking money to go and buy food to give to Venezuelans, they're taking food off a shelf at a time when the food supply chain under pressure worldwide.
Yeah, but which country does not care about its own first? And I've said it before, those Venezuelans that came in here legally, God bless you, take advantage of the resources because you respected the laws of our land. God bless you. And I have no problems with that. But as I've said before, time and time again, we have people coming inside here. For example, all these Indian expos. Do you know that one of the guys, he comes to the mosque and he was telling me that they paid $30,000, 20 to 30,000 to rent a little 20 by 20 booth inside these Indian expos. And you have 30 of those, 30 to 40 of these little boats and these tents. So that is nearly $800,000 a month a man is making. No taxes being paid. What income are we deriving from these people, many of them who bring substandard stuff? So Trinidad and Tobago, we are the donkey of the Caribbean, where everybody could just come in and do as they want. We have people from all the small islands coming here and setting up shop. And what are we getting in return? The reality of it is that, for me, our country has a nice mix of people. I love the mix of people that we have. But the reality of it is that right now we are bursting at the seams. We have Trinidadians, and I will repeat ad nauseum, that we have Trinidadians right now who don't even have a pack of flour to last them for the week. What are we going to do? We refused, and I should let the public know this. I had called for people to come together, and people started the first day to bring stuff like crazy first, and then I stopped it. The reason being, I said to myself, how could I put my team at risk by going out there now when COVID is so rampant? So we had to hold back. So for me, I apologize to everybody outside there who we have not been able to touch, but I must think about the people on our team and our
1.4 million Chinese and 1.4 million Chinese. And we keep saying that like that's a number. But when Gary was the Minister of National Security in 2014, Gary announced that there were 120,000 illegal immigrants in the country that he knew of who came and overstayed. This was not count of people who came across the border illegally, you know. There's people who came through the relevant ports and overstayed. So we had those 120,000 people that we're not counting. And by everybody's least underestimate, we have about 150,000 Venezuelans in Trinidad now, 200 and something thousand extra people. And the question I want to ask you is this. When you have a budget and you plan national resources to cater for 1.4 million, but you really catering for 1.7 million, what is the net outcome on the whole national infrastructure, the taxpayer, the ability to provide state goods and services like public health and national security? What happens now? What do you think is the impact on them being able, as somebody who runs so many businesses, you have to sit down and plan and identify where resources go, income here, expenses there. If you're planning for 1.4, but you really catering to 1.7, what is the net outcome there?
No, but not only that. Let us look at it in a realistic scenario. In this country right now, our income has been greatly reduced because of COVID. Many businesses have had to shut down. Companies cannot give the government back the amount of VAT and taxes that they should. So therefore, when we planned our budget at $50-something billion last year, or whatever it was, or $40-something billion, the reality of it was with the hope that we would be getting back to balance our budget. And you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, when you look at the COVID plus the fact that many people who are using our healthcare systems, if you had planned for 200,000 to use it, you have 250,000 using it. The reality of it is that you can never balance. You're in a position where you're constantly playing catch up, and it cannot work. About billions cannot operate like that, so much less a government. And you're absolutely right, because quite frankly, many people are not looking at the scenario, and I wonder to myself, you know, I have said it time and time again. I become, you know, so immune to politics, because the reality of it is that I hate it with a passion now. I mean, recently we had a Kamala on one side fighting and saying she was the cause they get the hospitals donated from the US, and then Rowley and Terrence come up and two of them buffing and say, no. Imagine, we are so shameless that in a country that was the richest country in the Caribbean, we have to import 2 field hospitals.
Our claim to fame, our biggest success for COVID-19 is that we negotiate for 2 field hospitals. That is basically 6 tents and some beds. Not even hospital beds. Not even hospital beds.
That is so shameless.
It is absolutely disgusting. Boss, I don't want your wife to pay out the house. I want to ask you.
No. She gave me the signal already.
So I want to ask you before you go, though, before you wrap up, I want to ask you. Because I asked Stefan and I'm asking you and I'm going to ask Ian. I want to get a panel together for our, at least, and all of us together and exchange and talk and chat, because the public looking for something like guidance, if not leadership. And I hope that you could go and get on your hands and knees and beg and tell her that I want to come and beg too, because we would like to have you as part of that panel. So I point that responsibility on you, and I give you the opportunity to close with whatever you need to add. And thanks a lot for coming, my brother.
No, that is not a problem. At the end of the day, I apologize for, you know, my absence, because at the end of the day, as I said before, I have quite a few things going on right now.
Brother. No apology is necessary.
And I'm in the process of one of my businesses. We're actually re-engineering the whole thing because of the lack of foreign exchange. Now imagine, I am a used I have a dealer license for 175 vehicles, and I cannot bring down one vehicle because I'm not getting US. I have another company that we deal with genuine parts, pickup parts, and I have not brought in a container for 7 months now because I can't get a foreign exchange, and I refuse to buy black market because it doesn't balance your books. So for me, at the end of the day, it does not matter to me, because quite frankly, there are people in positions right now who are breathing their last breath. And, you know, we pray that God make it easy on them. And for Trinidad and Tobago, to all your listeners right now, to all those people who are listening on Facebook, you know, it is easy for us to tell them to be strong. I mean, we cannot understand what they're going through. And for me, I could say that to Trinidad and Tobago, may God bless us, and whatever efforts we make, may be towards the betterment of Trinidad and Tobago. We hope that the government can control this whole COVID situation that is taking right now, and to those people who playing the fool and continuously putting us at risk, please use some common sense, because you could be bringing it back to your children, and you could be the cause of the death for your children. God bless you. Do have a pleasant night, and take care.
Thank you, my brother. Thanks to you and your family. Have a good evening, and you stay safe too. Trinidad and Tobago, we have good people among us, and I want you to know that I am going to work very hard at getting all of the good people together, if not physically, on these shows. I've sent out a message to some more of the people that you all want in the Avengers, especially 2 women that you all seem to be interested in having joined our ranks. So conversation is underway, and I'll keep you in the loop. Let me see if I can get Spider-Man on the phone. You know you're going to like all yourself if you answer.
The mailbox off. 1.
It looked like we missed the window of opportunity. Let me see if he'll call me back, because he's seeing the number. I know I gave him a specific time, but this time is just run away with you. And I really was hoping to have Ian on as well tonight. If that doesn't happen, because we already straight past the hour, and if that doesn't happen tonight, I'm going to get the team together and I'm going to surprise you all with a panel, and we're going to let you know when that's happening. We're going to let you know when that's happening soon. Right now, I'm just waiting on a feedback because all of these people have so much stuff going on in their own time too, and so much stuff going on. Somebody messaged me today and asked me what's going on with the petitions. The petitions are very safe. They've been secured. They've been secured in a very safe location that they're going to wait right there until this COVID spike and the state of emergency is over, because we're not going to serve the petition. This petition is important. I understand that the Attorney General's office is working hard at trying to get some stuff done, and I want to tell you, I applaud them. I applaud them. If you get stuff done that makes women safer in this country, I applaud you. Some of the things Enchan touch on tonight, people call me and tell me and send me video and pictures and tell me this is refugee camps in the country, and the government is not speaking to these issues. You're a state of emergency right now, so that means that while this is going on, anything illegal going on in the country, you could pass and wrap it up. You could pick everybody up. It's a short drive back to Venezuela. Or call Maduro on the phone and tell him, listen, you have to give us some money to mind these people. It can't be. You have to understand that somebody wrote me today. Let me read what this person wrote me today. I have two things I want to share with you. And this one important because, you see, I wish I could share her name, but I know I can't. But this is what she wrote and told me today. Afternoon, Philip. Now, this is somebody who, if you hear her last name, you'll say she's a 1%. But she is such a good person. She's been taking care of, she adopted the police station in her community, and she's take food for them and drinks for them, and her family helps everybody. So, and she don't ask for help. I mean, these are strong people who are capable. She write this, afternoon, Philip. I write this out of total frustration and anger. After hearing so many stories of our citizens not getting the proper health care they deserve, especially at a time like this, sickens me. There are way too many similar stories of COVID-positive patients calling for an ambulance, and when it does finally arrive, they don't know where the hell to take these people after the private hospitals have refused to admit them. Imagine that. Unless a person dies and a bed becomes available, there is no space. And if you are lucky enough to get a bed, the level of care or lack of it is unspeakable. Patients are not given the basics to simply survive, like expletive, water to drink, and food to eat. When you showed the video of the tents at the car park of our national stadium, I thought the same simple idea. Why tents? You said it. There are indoor facilities that are fully equipped with all the necessary things, and yet there are tents. We need to expand our parallel system, and with the help of the US and the equipment, it is very doable. The government, in an effort to make as if, are killing our people. Our so-called healthcare is a joke, and our people are the ones paying the price. When Inchan Ishmael asked today on social media how many of the people in the health system are immigrants, if there are 542 beds, if there are 542 sick trainees that need to be on those beds, but by the time the ambulance reaches with sick trainees, 200 beds have immigrants on it. If you are not planning how the country is being run and the public health system, if you're not planning for these people, because you have to plan, and this is the point. You can't say we're at 73% and we're at 93%, and you can't say those things without telling us what those numbers represent. You can't say those things. And what Trinidadians have to understand is the things that you think that will be there for you are not there. And I've been saying these things for years. Now, I read something. I read something that made me upset. And I know that this story was pulled. I've seen that the link is pulled. And I know that because, again, I'm not going to call any names because they've pulled the story. But I want you to hear, these are people who are writing this, who are very wealthy and they're powerful. But in Trinidad, money and power means nothing now because we're dealing with life and death and the availability of scarce resources. When the person who wrote the last letter spoke about how unspeakably bad the healthcare is, that's not to bash the nurses or even the doctors or the orderlies. But if a nurse, there is a science called time and motion. If a nurse could take care of 30 people on a ward, and you give, so you know you have 300 people, you need 10 nurses. That's how you plan. If a nurse could take care of 30 on a ward and you have 300, you need 10. So now you have 10 and you have 700. How is the same nurse that is supposed to take care of 10 going to be able to take care of 25 and 30? Somebody's not going to get treatment. I want to apologize. This was put out on social media, but I am not going to call any names. But I want you to feel what these people felt. They're writing about their father. This man here was not a statistic on the internet that people check at 4:30 p.m. He was born on a date and his life was stolen from him. He was born on a date in 1934 and his life was stolen from him on May 14, 2021. While 86 years may seem old to some, the quality of life he still had was most definitely present, and one that anyone who knew him would know it was worth fighting for. Now, I want you to hear this story because these people wrote from their hearts, and I really felt for them. I swear, again, we are reaching the point now where all that's left is our humanity, and I wanted to post the other day, and I didn't get a chance to post it yet. The one thing we can't lose in all of this is our humanity. We can't lose that. If we identify the problem, we have to find solutions. We can't continue to let the problem continue and then say let's work together if the problem continuing. You can't pick up the illegal guns if you don't secure the borders because more guns coming in, so it doesn't make sense. A waste of time, is a futile exercise. The same with trying to treat COVID, putting a state of emergency on land, but the borders porous and people still coming in. If that is the cause of it, if that is where the variants and the mutations enter in the country, secure the borders. Don't use it as an ability to buy ships that we don't need. Despite being homebound for the last year, plus by himself, with far too infrequent visits, he got COVID. That's the thing about this virus. I can't even be upset with how he got it because the person was none the wiser that they themselves had been exposed. Rewind to all the images of how your small circle connects to hundreds more without you realizing, and all those advertisements of staying away from your grandparents because you love them and you understand what COVID is about. I want to share an experience because we do not know as a nation what is taking place. After struggling at home for a couple of days, even with the instinctive generosity of a friend's oxygen concentrator, his oxygen content was slowly declining. We knew he wouldn't want to leave home. I want to read this, and I'm reading this with utmost respect. I feel for these people. I felt it like it was home. I want you to hear this story. We knew he wouldn't want to leave home, but we also knew without the right equipment and care, we would not have been able to save him. So our hands tied behind our back, we called an ambulance who, mind you, arrived knowing where they were taking him, since there were no beds available at any of the health centers. The ambulance took 4 hours to arrive, and the driver spoke of absolute horror on his day. Thus far, and the state of the hospitals. Right before driving out of the house, Coover said, yes, someone just died. A bed opened up. Bring him immediately. Let that soak in. Someone just died and a bed opened up. With a grateful heart and filled with hope, we promised him we would bring him back home. If we knew what would happen next, we would have never sent him. He arrives, and the first phone call from the hospital brought on the grim reality of our decision. Using our government's reporting language, he was an elderly male with comorbidities, so we knew his odds were against him. Your dad is very sick, and because of his age, he does not qualify for the intensive care unit. The system is overrun, and because of the government's profile, he was not a candidate for further treatment. Is not just odds against him. It is the placement of a body in a production line with a predetermined result. This was his death sentence. Cue in guilt and regret for entrusting his care on our system. Immediately we knew we made the wrong choice. My sweet, name it with her, died alone and scared on Friday morning at 7:35 a.m. We were contacted at 4:07, 8 hours later. Why am I sharing such a personal story? Because my story is similar to far too many people. 1 year with this vicious virus blowing up all over the world. 1 year with our borders closed. 1 year with minimal impact on our community. What did our government do with their head start? Nothing. Medical system never really prepared sufficiently despite knowing what would happen with a major spread. The day he was admitted, we had 342 in hospital, 9 in ICU and 58 in HDU. A joke, I know. That's our capability. Sigh. Vaccinations at 60,000 out of 1.4 million, 4% rate. They mindfully kept Trinidad in a bubble but did nothing to protect us. It's like wrapping something in a thin coating of bubble wrap and then flinging it across the room. And being surprised it broke. I am sad that this was his journey. I am sad that his children will always regret gambling on our system, and I am damn angry that we continue to leave the fate of our hands in the incompetence of our Prime Minister. He who spends 3 weeks at home with COVID and then has the audacity to arrogantly lecture and berate we who put him in power. COVID is real. Far too real to me and many around the world. But 1 year later, sitting with our fingers crossed, hoping we get away is not a damn strategy. Neither is a useless curfew that does not address movement. Maybe spending a fraction of the economic impact on these shutdowns in securing vaccines might have been a better idea. This is not a political post. This is an indictment on both our opposition and the leading body. This is an indictment on every single person directly and indirectly serving the government, so do not respond assuming I am anti-PNM. I am anti-senseless death due to inaction when you had a long head start. Heaven stole our angel. R.I.P. Sweet name with him. You may be their stupid statistic, but to us you were our loving dad that is gone too soon. We love you always and will miss you forever. To the family, I want to offer my sincere condolences. To Trinidad and Tobago, I have been saying these things for 27 years. I have written millions of words like that. I have posted thousands of hours of video begging, pleading with Trinidad and Tobago make sensible decisions. This person was correct. Their post was not political, but I want them to hear me say this. Politics killed your dad. It is the failure of our politics that led to a public health system that we spend $5 billion a year on for the past 30 years. Do the math. We've spent $3 trillion as a nation in 58 years. Look around. Everything that we have, we had when the Queen handed us this place. But for some useless buildings that we put up on the waterfront and in town, that are worth 10% of what we as a nation spent. That person's story, the first person's story, everybody's story is a horror show now. You don't know. People looking at me right now don't know if you will be alive tomorrow. When my family called me for help from my uncle, it made me realize they don't know who is who anymore. The government has lost control. I think this state of emergency is some saber rattling to try and pretend that you have control. To say we're going to exert power on the people. Your Excellency, President Paula Mayweeks, you wrote, and I want to read what you wrote, and I want to ask you a question on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because this is not good enough. Whereas it is enacted by Section 8(1) of the Constitution that the President may from time to time make a proclamation declaring that a state of public emergency exists, and Section 8(2)(b) of the Constitution that a proclamation made by the President under Section 8(1) shall not be effective unless it contains a declaration that the President is satisfied that a public emergency has arisen as a result of the occurrence of any earthquake, hurricane, flood, fire, outbreak of pestilence or of infectious disease or other calamity, whether similar to the foregoing or not. Now, therefore, I, Paula Mayweeks, President, as aforesaid, in pursuance of the powers conferred upon me by Section 8(1) of the Constitution, hereby declare that A, I am satisfied that a public emergency has arisen as a result of the outbreak of the infectious disease 2019 novel coronavirus, and state a public emergency exists in the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, given under my hand and the seal of the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the office of the President Sedans, this 15th day of May 2021. Ma'am, Your Excellency, I wrote you 3 letters in August 2020 asking you to challenge the elections and postpone them. I remember the first of these legal notices you wrote, January 31st, 2020, where you said that you were reliably informed by the Minister of Health and whereas this is what we knew, the first person who wrote the first letter, she asked about the whole head start we had. These people who, with their broken hearts, ask the same question. My problem is, we all need to be asking these questions all the time. This is what the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago said January 31st, 2020, 16 months ago. And whereas Trinidad and Tobago has been advised recently by the World Health Organization the existence of the 2019 novel coronavirus, a highly infectious and dangerous disease which is currently occurring in various locations around the world. And whereas the Minister of Health believes that due to the speed and ease of international travel, Trinidad and Tobago can ultimately expect the arrival of the 2019 novel coronavirus and the devastating effect on its public health. Madam President, between that declaration and this one, we did not secure our borders. We had a carnival in February 2020. We had a death cruise organized by a former senator, PNM senator, that led to the first set of COVID deaths in this country. Within 2 months, we said we beat COVID. Minister of Finance said, come outside. We beat COVID. End of that month, the Minister of Health say, Oxford say, we are the best. Number one in the world. We beat COVID. Prime Minister dissolved Parliament, call an election. We had a carnival atmosphere taking place. And it caused a spike and it caused deaths. But I am on record writing you 3 times, appealing to you 3 times. You responded to me once. You responded to me and said to me that you did not have the authority. And I said to you, you did. And you could have acted on your authority and the courts would have had to resolve it. As the Minister of National Security just said the other day, that police are going to take action and if they're wrong, the courts will sort it out. And that's how the government has reached, and we got to a point now with porous borders and 2 carnival-like elections and an actual carnival and a death cruise and 50,000 people in Tobago for Easter. We got to this place where the mismanagement and the mishandling of this pandemic has caused us to have a public emergency that requires a state of emergency. Madam President, the underlying issue for this state of emergency is not coronavirus. I asked Terence D. Alsing when they said that we were COVID-free, he started to talk about a second wave. And I asked him, where is the second wave supposed to come from, Terence, if we lock down 6 months now and the airports closed? We have no COVID. We have none in the country. You said we won. We beat it. Oxford said we were number 1 in the world. There were no patients in the parallel health system. No one stepped down. Nobody quarantined for 4 months. We were COVID-free. To the point where Keith Rowley was able to tell people, this Easter, Tobago have no COVID. Come and party. 50,000 people went. Madam President, we are declaring a state of emergency to restrict the movement of the citizens of this republic who are victims of mismanagement and incompetence. We have a lack of information coming from those in authority. I know too many people who have died ignoble deaths without friends, family around. People can't even go to their funeral. I don't know how we go forward as a nation where governmental incompetence creates a state of emergency and the government gets to run it. That is fireman and arsonist in the same band. Better needs to be done. Right now, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago are being made to pay a heavy price again and risk their life and limb. Because I'll tell everybody listening to me tonight, stay home. Regardless of who do what and who to blame, you still don't want this. You don't want this for your loved ones. Stay home. Leave your family home. If you need to get something in the grocery, you go alone. Get what you're going to get. had to tell 2 people today. I had to go to a private hospital today for a blood test. And I had to tell 2 different people who walk up to me to have a conversation with me that after I was polite and after I give them the signals like, an open hand, upright like this says, all right. But I had to tell both of them, listen, this is not the time, this is not the place, and it is not this, we shouldn't be talking like this. I have on my mask, you have on your mask, and I understand that. But what Enchan said earlier is true. We don't even know if that working. Stefan said we don't know what the vaccine's doing. We don't know nothing. All we know is people dying. Tonight, the border's still not secure. The current Minister of National Security admitted that an illegal immigrant brought the Brazilian variant into this country. I want to ask a question that has to be asked. And I want to ask all journalists who get an opportunity, all of you, I'm speaking for all the people who didn't think that they would get COVID and die. I'm speaking to all the people right now who don't know that they're going to get COVID and die. I want to tell you this, you have a responsibility now. You have an opportunity. All of us who have an opportunity, we have to step up. And if there's a press conference, you have to ask this. If you have all of the answers and you could give us all of the graphs and all of the numbers, take us back to this. When we had no COVID, where did it come from? Because the responsibility for what is taking place in this country right now has to be known. We have to record this. Somebody is responsible. Is it the commander of the Coast Guard? Is it the Minister of National Security? Is it the chair of the National Security Council? Is it the Prime Minister? Is it the cabinet? Is it the government? Is it the parliament? We, the 1.4 million tax-paying citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, we have to be informed. You give us a state of emergency and you ask us not to move around because you say that will help prevent COVID-19 from spiking. Where the COVID-19 came from in the first place. We are arguing about who went to Tobago and who went to candlelight vigils. There should have been no COVID to spread between any of those people because the country was locked down. Or so you said. So the question remains, where did it come from? If we locked down 16 months now and the borders closed, where did it come from? Until that question is answered, all the stunts, all the tents, all the finger pointing, all the graphs, all the blame game, all the press conferences with tag team doctors, these juniors, not one senior peer-reviewed renowned doctor leading our pandemic response, a pharmacist. This is a joke. A bad, horrific, horrendous, bizarre joke. Our handling of COVID-19 as a nation is not the fault of the people. Stop blaming the people. Stop pulling over and weeping because you see some people taking a drink on the promenade. If you had done your blasted job, they'd be safe and you'd be safe too. We were COVID-free January 31st, 2020, when we knew COVID was coming. We knew and we passed a public health ordinance saying that we knew. And then we had Carnival. And then we had a death cruise. So incompetence and failure to lock the country down when we knew what was coming brought COVID into Trinidad. And then the people of Trinidad and Tobago put up with all of the restrictions. And they rallied, and they made their jokes, they made their memes, and they suffered. Plenty people, the hand-to-mouth people that we don't talk about, that didn't make any of these 2 stories tonight. Now I'll talk about them. Hundreds of thousands of people. Children went to bed with belly rumbling. And mommy ain't know how she feeding them tomorrow. Because business closed down. And boss man ain't taking no call. I ain't stories about people who say the boss in Guyana, he can't get back in so they can't get paid. And the children home looking at him, eyes open, belly swell up. We went through all of that. And you came with your snarling arrogance, calm him bird. We beat it. Number one in the world. Vote for we will set you free. Dial Singh Sahil, he's telling the truth. Parasram, Avery Hines, Trotman, Richards, none of them are being true to their professional ethics because all of them are withholding information from the public. We still don't know. Keith Rowley got COVID-19 the day he was supposed to take his vaccination. We don't know how he got it. I want to say this to you again. There is nobody in this country easier to contact trace than the Prime Minister. Because Special Branch has to know where he is at all times. That's the law. He talks to nobody. He has no private meetings. He can't escape them. He lives in that bubble. That is his security bubble. That is to protect the life of our Prime Minister. So we have documented in little books that fit in pockets of these special branch officers and in the station diary of every step the Prime Minister made for the 15 days before he said he got COVID. Somebody said today the man come back looking like he was on a rest and relaxation spa date. He did not look like he was sick at all. And he's either Superman with his comorbidities, his damaged heart, he's 71 years old, or something else. When you take the Hippocratic oath as a doctor, first thing you say, first, do no harm. Every doctor, especially Parasram, Hines, Trotman, Richards, have a duty to their oath to come straight with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Where did the first case come from? Where did all of your contact tracing? Because if this was my job, I'd be able to tell you the color of the drawers the person was wearing. So you tell me, we spend $5 billion a year on public health. We pay your salaries. Plus, we took $16 billion out of the Heritage and Stabilization Fund for this. Where did the first case of COVID come from? When we beat it, where did the new cases of COVID come from? Because somebody is criminally responsible and liable for every single case that's ravaging this country right now. And every office holder. And that's what these two people said in the tears. Loss brings you to a place where you don't care no more. When you speak from loss, you couldn't be more honest. All these people asked, all they want, from the very poor to the very rich, all they want, you have a job, you're being paid to do the job, do that job. Anything else is criminal. We're going to start back putting panels together, professionals. And we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of this. We're going to be able to analyze and deduct. Everything leaves a trace. Everything leaves clues. Things start. Science tells you there was nothing, and then there was a big bang. And science tells you suspend disbelief of everything from that moment going forward. That you have to believe based on nothing more than we have no way to prove otherwise, that there was nothing and then there was everything. But in these situations, you know what you have. You know the definite quantities of dates, times, persons, locations, places. You could map and you could mark. We need to know. The people of Trinidad and Tobago need to know. Governments cannot be irresponsible, incompetent, lead to what we are going through now. I ask this question, and I asking you, Trinidad and Tobago, tomorrow when the curfew is over, drive past Jean Pierre Complex. That mobile hospital is placed next to 100,000 square feet of existing covered facilities, air conditioning, plumbing, bathroom facilities, ladies, gents, showers, sporting rooms, lockers, offices, parquet floors. That could be a hospital. On the other side of it, 1,000,000 square feet of stadium covered. Behind it, St. John's Ambulance. Next, across the road from St. John's Ambulance, Lion Civic Center. All of that around you with electrical switch. You can switch on and on, no generator required. Plumbing connected to Wassa, water in the taps, tank outside. You don't need to come and bring water in a truck. The place covered, if rain falling, you're not supposed to get wet like in a tent. If a heavy wind come, it will blow away everybody. Why would you have tents when all of this exists and not in use? Why? If you go to the bottom floor of the National Stadium and see the size of the rooms that exist underneath those stands, just those running right around the stadium, 1,000,000 square feet. Why do we need tents? What was the purpose of the tents? Why cut ribbons? Why fool people? That is not the role of government. Why is the media not pressing the government? I don't care if they lose their temper and cuss. We need to know. And we cannot stop asking. And as Inchan said, as Stefan said, anybody will tell you, I've been asking about those borders for decades now. I want to ask again, why are the borders open tonight? When if somebody were to be attacking us by sea, we have 13 boats we could dispatch to respond. Why we can't declare a state of emergency 3 miles out at sea and shut it down? Nothing in. Nothing. And anybody want to come into the country, going into a state-operated quarantine facility, locked. You're not coming out until you test negative. So if you don't want to go through that, stay where you are. So that we make sure that at some point, we stop the importation. You can interrupt the transmission, but you importing more cases, you're making an ass of everybody. I don't want to belabor the point. We have, what holds society together is faith and trust in the system. The government has a responsibility to make sure faith and trust exists. You have to answer questions now. They have no more room for stunts. The people need to know. Let's work together as a nation. In closing, let me say again, Stefan was clear he's not an anti-vaxxer. Just want to make sure that we get the right vaccinations for our people. And Jan was clear. He said he want everybody to remember to obey all the rules, follow social distancing. I telling you, go one step beyond. Unless your house empty, don't come out. Don't come out. Let people vex with you. Don't hug. You know, Chinese have a way we say he hugged me. You see people outside, if they don't understand to stay far and don't walk up to me to talk to me, I'm going to walk away from you. We can talk later on the phone. Let us do our part. And let us call on every public office holder to do theirs as well. I'm looking forward to the debates in the Parliament for whatever that is worth. Not that the Parliament has ever really given us a debate that has benefited us. But for as long as tribal, racist politics going to determine who ends up in that house, again, that's what we have to deal with. I'd like to thank Satish Ramsaran, who makes these shows possible and operates behind the scenes. I'd like to thank all the members of the Citizens Union of Trinidad and Tobago, whose contributions and kindness continue to support and make it possible for this to happen. I want to tell them that we are going to be expanding our work now, and we are going to be bringing a lot of people from all around the world onto these shows to give more and more information until we understand exactly where we are and where we're going. But between now and then, you are the most important person in your own rescue and in that of your family. Don't care what nobody tell you. Don't fall for no peer pressure. People can say what they want. See, right now, health is wealth. No, right now. Lock down your bubble. Until tomorrow, stay safe. Trinidad.